I did a lot of bad things, and for one enraged, jealous action, I rightfully so wound up as an inmate. Behind bars, with nothing but time, I began to read, to try and figure out if there was anything after this life, because I had nothing else to look forward to in this one. I went from seeker to spreader of the seeds of faith I had found. Because of my record, others were skeptical of anything I had to say. What was the real motive for me trying to share this good news? I wouldn't have been the first inmate to perform a reform with a disguised agenda. I'd studied apologetics and would have open or one-on-one discussion with anyone interested. I even had some correspondence through mail. One of the guys in my cell block who was interested in talking one-on-one was a former mafia boss. He had been disappointed by the religion of his youth, but was open to reason and evidential arguments for the validity of the Bible. He was at the table waiting for me with notepad and Bible. After I was seated, he said, "You're not going to like what I have to say today, so I'll get to the point. Before then, I do appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, and I still think the cosmological argument, the fine-tuning argument, it made me think there's some kind of creator. However, I don't think the creator wrote the Bible perfectly. You might not want to hear what I have found because it might rob you of your biblical faith. Do you want me to continue?" I said to him, numerous times I've been stopped at a roadblock in the Bible. The Holy Spirit has always shown me a way to get past it. I have faith in seeing where the truth takes us. The mafia boss opened his notebook. He said, "I like Jesus. I like a lot of the ethical views of the Bible. The black and white, right and wrong. I kind of wish it was true. And genuinely sad to doubt Jesus. But I can't believe the Bible is true till there's a mark of the beast. In my former life, I looked for deals that could go sideways, double crosses, or setups. If I were the Antichrist, the beast from the sea, I would tell the beast from the earth, the false prophet, no to the mark. We're not doing that. If we don't follow prophecy, Jesus cannot come back as a truthful foreteller of the future. If we follow the script, Jesus can make good on his scheduled promises. If we go off script, maybe that buys us, at minimum, more time. Because when he comes back, we're thrown into the lake of fire, and I'm willing to do anything to avoid that." I said, "This is an example of a roadblock. I've not considered this point. I could get back to you later or answer off the cuff." The mafia boss said, "Please, how about both?" I thumbed my Bible back to the beginning. I read out loud, "No, you won't die," the serpent said to the woman. "In fact, God knows when you eat, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Then the woman saw the tree was good for food and delightful to look at, and that it was desirable for obtaining wisdom. So she took some of its fruit and ate it. Satan is capable of deceiving humans into not believing what God said. Satan got Eve to do what he wanted. Satan got Judas to do what he wanted, even though Judas saw all the miracles Jesus did. Satan is going to give someone a lot of power. With 8 billion people, he's going to find someone willing to get the perks of the job of the beast. The mafia boss flipped a page in his notebook. He said, "Okay, sounds plausible Satan could get someone to do it. But why would Satan do it? Why wouldn't he do everything to postpone his punishment? After all, the sooner the beast and the false prophet are punished, the sooner he gets bound and then eventually thrown into the lake of fire with them." I turned to the beginning of Job and read out loud. "Very well," the Lord told Satan. "Everything he owns is in your power. However, you must not lay a hand on Job himself." So Satan left the Lord's presence. Skipping ahead. "Skin for skin," Satan answered the Lord. "A man will give up everything he owns in exchange for his life. But stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face." Very well, the Lord told Satan. He is in your power, only spare his life. So Satan left the Lord's presence and infected Job with terrible boils from the sole of his foot to the top of his head. Looking up from my Bible, I said, from that info from Job, Satan is not free to do whatever he wants. God puts limits. Sure, Satan has a lot of current power or freedom, but even with Job, he was not permitted to do everything he wants. The mafia boss said, so God makes Satan or the false prophet do the mark of the beast? So God is responsible for getting his people killed for not taking it? Why then is Satan and his team punished if they're following orders? I said, I don't think God will force the false prophet to invent the mark of the beast. You're right, it's a bad idea on their part, but so is rebelling against a loving creator and thinking you should or could beat him. I think it's plausible that before any individual rebelled, God made a spell. If anyone would rebel against him, would trigger a self-destruct button, pattern, code, like a branch that's cut off from the vine, will wither and die. Jesus is the way, the life, and the truth. The wages of sin are delusion and death. Going back to Job, it was Satan's idea and action to hurt Job, not God's. Satan tempted Eve, not God. Satan tempted Jesus, not God. God can take what Satan made for evil into good, like Joseph's brothers selling him into slavery or Jesus being crucified. The mafia boss closed his notebook. He said, this is confusing to me. I hear your points. And while I don't hear anything wrong with them, and that should lead me to drop my doubts, I keep circling back to, if I were Satan reading the Bible, I'd go, I'm not going to do the mark of the beast. And if God isn't forcing them, then I don't see how this doesn't foil God's prophecy and the authenticity of every word of the Bible being perfect divine revelation. I said, we shouldn't believe the devil will follow prophecy because he's so smart. I mean, he might be cunning, but he opposed the holy, loving creator, so he's shown to follow some bad ideas. Satan did not understand the purpose of the previous prophecy of Jesus' first coming. Paul writing in 1 Corinthians 2:8, none of the rulers of this age knew this wisdom, for if they had known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. Paul elsewhere writes that Satan is the god of this age. Satan, the ruler of this age, did not know this wisdom, for if he had known it, he would not have crucified the Lord of glory. Colossians 2:14, he, Jesus, erased the certificate of debt with its obligations that was against us and opposed to us, and has taken it out by the way by nailing it to the cross. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and disgraced them publicly. He triumphed over them. So with that, there's precedent. Satan won't fully understand the prophecy of Jesus' second coming and his wicked plans being turned against him. The mafia boss said, I respect you trying to make sense of this, and I'm not trying to act unconvinced for the hell of it. I want to believe that Jesus' death can pay for my sins, but I still can't see how Satan, something smarter than me, who's had more time than me, wouldn't see this obvious opportunity to get more time free of punishment. I said, okay, so you're stuck with Satan will not do this because he'll do anything not to get caught. But what if there are other reasons he wants to do this, aside from it will lead to him getting caught or his time being shortened? We know from the scriptures, Satan wants to be like God. He asked Jesus to worship him. Satan wanted to prove to God that Job would curse him. Satan is the accuser. He seems to like it when we fall to temptation to rub it into God. And yes, the mark is a surefire way to speed up his end, but it's also a surefire way to be both worshipped, By getting people to take it, Satan's getting people to curse God, and Satan can accuse them for taking it to God. So he has motivation to do it aside from just survival. Maybe Satan just wants to take as many people to the lake of fire with him to get God to reconsider that if so many of his creations messed up, then maybe it's God's fault and he should pardon Satan on a bell curve. The mafia boss said, "You're pushing my doubt back further than I thought possible. However, it still seems too obvious to avoid it, and Satan would foil God's declared timeline, making a fool or liar out of God." I said, if Satan tried some sort of loophole, God flooded the world in the days of Noah after the angels were messing with people, and God saw how evil people became. God scattered man from the Tower of Babel when they weren't following his orders to spread out. So if Satan tried some sort of loophole, Jesus could return like a thief in the night and already had enough cause to bound Satan and judge the world with fire.